We said we were going to break down the report. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Dex here, and we are back, and this is the special episode, or just the episode we're doing about the UAP report from the Director of National Intelligence. It was only 9 pages, so there's not much to cover, but we'll break down a bit, kind of give my little input as to what they're saying and not saying. Like I said, we've already kind of discussed this once or twice before. So let's go ahead. Don't forget, guys, check us out, Cinescape Media. Doing well. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. Here it is. Got the official seal. It's marked unclassified. Wonderful. This came out 25th, so we're, 15 days behind, 2 weeks? From the report of this, like I said before, I promised I got the date wrong on getting this done, so I'm just redoing it real quick because I didn't like what I did last time. So anyway, first page here. Basically, this is just, they give a rundown, and my favorite part is, let's throw every single alphabet soup agency you can put into this. And I guess it's good because it's not just saying we're only going to look at what, say, the Navy has, or, the military, just military. They went after FBI, NSA. Interestingly, kind of talked about this in a previous video, NASA's left off of this list. You have the NOAA, but not NASA listed in this. And I found that kind of interesting. Now, I guess NASA isn't really part of the whole, security, intelligence, whatever agency. Unless you want to go real deep conspiracy theories where people, possibility, whatever. But this is just, kind of a scope laying out the report. They're trying to say that we want to understand, we need to understand, which, we do. Whether it's an actual alien like a lot of people believe, or if it's a military issue where we have other agents or other countries or whatever flying around in these machines, we don't know. But the problem is, at the same time, is I think if our enemies had this, they would have used this against us already. Unless they're still testing, but, I don't know. So, anyway, my favorite part, though, growing up, you're always told not to make assumptions, or assumptions, because you just look like an ass. But, what is interesting here is they already kind of just say a lot of the UAP, well, they're saying, but some are attributable to sensor anomalies. So right off the bat, it seems to me like, oh, if we can't say one way or other, we're just going to say the sensor did this. If we don't want to call something what it is, we have this built-in excuse right at the top of this report. We're talking page 2. This right here, to me, is kind of interesting, to just right off the bat just say, oh, it's a sensor anomaly. But they, I guess when they do say capture enough real data to allow initial assessments, they're trying, I don't know, it seems to me like some skating around of how they're going to do this. All right. So the next section here is they label it the executive summary. Now, we're not going to read these word for word. I'm sure 95% of you guys have probably already read this before we even did this episode. So basically, I guess like I said, I'm really just here to kind of break it down, give an input on what I found interesting and kind of funny in some of these reports. Right off the bat, what's kind of funny is so they're the way they're trying to do it, and it makes sense to do it. They want to focus and make sure that they're using like the best quality they can. So starting from 2004 is not a bad idea to start. Granted, yes, there is plenty of evidence before these dates. I guess for the sake of time and for the sake of trying to ensure that they had a more enriched data set in a sense, they started 2004 all the way up to 2021. And so that's where they got most of their data from. I find that actually a good idea to start with because, the technology we've had in those year span, we have some decent technology. Apparently not according to Elon Musk, but hey. But they do try to say, is that they do admit that at least when it's registered across multiple sensors, radar, infrared, just plain straight up your eyes, or any kind of system, they do state that. But they're saying that most of these reports they're trying to say, and I believe it's on the next page. So they're only saying that a limited number of these, though, were observed on the instruments that has some really weird characteristics, such as, when they talk in the TikTok video, I believe it is, where you don't see the exhaust coming out of the object that's moving. As all of our propulsion is, blow out the back, you're going forward. You know what I mean? Like, you're using Newton's law. But these seem to be acting on what force we don't know. And another thing they mentioned here, and I do agree with this. Now, I know we've talked a little bit before where you have to be prepared military-wise for something as unknown as this. Completely agree with that. Now, there have been reports of these UAP flying really, really close. So they are, they do put out here how they do clearly pose a risk to safe flight. Now, this is something obviously nobody wants. We don't need anybody getting hurt, but they are getting close. So to put this out there, it does need to be said. I mean, there is a reason that we need to be a little more prepared. Now, they do right here also describe 5 categories where they will be putting these reports and how to explain them. You have the airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomenon, USG, or it's the U.S. Industry Developmental Programs, foreign adversary systems, aka Russia, China, some other things like that, or the catch-all trash ban, other bin they're calling it, where they're just going to say maybe. I guess that's kind of your maybe pile, because everything else is kind of, oh, it's this and not aliens or whatever else. So the another reoccurring theme that they kind of mention here is they want to streamline the data, how it's getting between different agencies, which makes sense, right? They're trying to lay out basically better ways to catalog, categorize, and react to this stuff. Now, right off the bat, this report is only called a preliminary assessment. I think a lot of people kind of expected when this report came out that it was going to be a massive report. We were going to have all sorts of information. But no, they kind of just said, here's a preliminary, and this is what we're giving you. So, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get another report that we can look at with actual evidence, what they see, that kind of stuff. That's a hope. We're still waiting on the other X Files from the other government, but um, right here, they're already going. We can't say nothing. This is right here. This whole page is kind of the government throwing their hands up, like, hey, listen, we don't have enough to say one way or another. Like I said, this is kind of that kid pointing and saying aliens without aliens. Um, they do mention the last 2 years we have gotten a lot better at getting the information, recording it, cataloging it, and making sure it's, gone to its proper place. Because they didn't have it until March of 2019. So that's why only the last 2 years has this stuff been, I guess, the more of a way for them to try to explain away stuff. And so when they did a lot of the first-hand reports and they went through. So they took those, they did 144 of them. 80 included observations with multiple sensors. So they're trying to say that these, you can see right here, was already actual pre-planned military training. So right off the bat, you got more than half being just kind of dismissed away. So, okay. Already kind of doing it. But this is kind of pretty much what I was expecting when this was coming out, was how many ways can we explain it away, but give enough to people where they could be possibly satisfied. Most of us aren't going to ever be satisfied. We want the truth. We want all of it. We don't want some government spin on shit and blah, blah, blah. So, interesting enough, too, they blame the sensors right here, saying they're not suited for identifying UAP. Now, I understand this. When you're flying a certain airplane or whatever you got, you're only going to have the stuff on board that you need for your mission or your end goal, whatever you want to call it. So, while sensors may not be specifically designed for capturing these UFOs, you would think that at a certain point, where especially if like certain battalions or troops or squadrons or whatever group, different branches call them different things, you would think that they would say, okay, these guys, when they're over here or in these certain areas, we get a lot of reports, because there's a lot of concentrated reports or areas of concentrated reports. Why are you not equipping your airplanes, your air carriers, especially your air carriers? Those things are freaking massive. Like, how hard is it to put a little put something else on there? Boat's already freaking massive. It's not gonna sink the damn thing. But you would think like we would have this. But lately the government's shown that they're not really too smart or too quick to act on their feet, right? So they're already, like I said, they're just trying to dismiss away a lot of stuff. So let's see, next page. They do mention patterns emerging, which is absolutely what a lot of people are looking at. When you try to prove things and look into things, when you find a pattern, that kind of gives you validity to what you're thinking and seeing and doing. So that they're at least acknowledging that there are the patterns. And again, how are you not using these patterns to better equip whatever you have for possibly catching these things? If it's such a national security risk, I really would think we'd be putting more effort into it. But apparently we don't seem to be, and only most recently are we like, oh, okay, well, we're going to have this reporting process. We're going to do this and this and this. So, who knows? They go into this one was I'm glad they brought this up. Can't talk tonight, sorry. They do mention the advanced technology. So they do bring up, and this is what we've seen in a few of the videos that, Corbell's posted and things like that, where these objects can be at a standstill and then they turn, or they're flying and then they stop, they turn and then go another way, or the Tic Tac where they were watching and it dropped into the water. They do at least acknowledge that, so that's good. I was curious, and they do talk about no discernible means of propulsion. Like I said, we're so used to quicker we push out, quicker we're going forward. They're moving. They're talking radio frequency energy. You're talking geomagnetical. They're using the Earth's magnetic to propel themselves. We don't know, but it's good that they're acknowledging that. Here, they kind of, this next few sections here probably lack a single explanation. My apologies. Now, this right here, just like I said, it goes over the 5 kind of catch-all things that we've talked about before. So they break it down. Airborne clutter, they're basically blaming birds, balloons, recreational unmanned vehicles, and airborne debris like plastic bags. So Walmart and Target with all your damn plastic bags, it's your fault that we're not getting some freaking good footage here, apparently. According to our good old intelligence agencies, that's what they're telling us. Of course, atmospheric phenomenon, ice crystals, are blaming that, can mess with some of the radar and things like that, which that makes sense. Like, yes, you can say that. There is going to be those cases. I'm not going to say that everything is, a UFO. You're going to have these kinds of false positives in a sense. Like that one, I will 100% agree that happens. They are saying that nothing could be attributable to classified programs. They're not confirming any, which why would they confirm any? But apparently there is this category where they can put this in there. And again, the foreign adversary systems, China, Russia, other nations, they don't mention yes or no of what's in this category if they've gotten anything. I wasn't expecting if we would get that, but they do have a category for that. So I'm curious how many of these reports, because they mentioned 144, then they mentioned 80, but they don't say how those reports break down and what buckets they fit into. We're not getting the transparency there that we hope, but hey, it is what it is, right? We got something as much as it's not something. So this here is basically the set that it's unidentified. Now, what's funny is they're saying that this is a bucket where they're going to go in, and then when we get better technology or more information, then they might move out of this bucket. So it's almost like when we find the technology that says this is not a UFO, this is where it's going to go. However, are aliens foreign adversary? Like, say, God forbid, or whatever term you want to use here, phrase, say they're aliens. Where do they go? What category do you have for that? You won't even acknowledge that. So that's, like I said, it's very conflicting to me. Of we're gonna say it's this and this, and then if it's something we still can't explain, we're just not going to do much. So again, they mention they break down the whole flight safety and national security thing, because we've talked about this before. A lot of these sightings are coming and being found around like nuclear sites and things like that. So it is an interesting thing that really does need to be monitored in that sense. We don't need people dying. We need things to just be okay. Here's like I said, they mentioned the 11 reports where people have come like real close to possibly hitting them. This is coming from when they mention it. This is all coming from the military. So they do have potential national security changes that they'd like, or challenges that it's proposing, which of course it's going to. I think this is the last kind of section here. Explaining UAP is going to require analytic collection and resource investment. So here's the government's basically saying, we're going to need more money if you want us to do further investigation. We have all these reports. We've investigated to a certain point. So they want to go through a lot of stuff. And then what's cool here, too, is they're also talking about taking old sonar and radar data and sifting through it to see if we can identify things from historical data. So they're still, and they mentioned it here too, they're still apparently working on acquiring additional information. So, I mean, again, this seems to be a whole kind of document, and again, expanding collection and increased investment in research and development. I absolutely believe we should be doing that. I'm hoping some of that is actually going to go to NASA, now that NASA's apparently going to be starting their own investigation wing, whatever, to this. So that'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I don't think we'll get the budget and be told what's being put where to this. But they do bring out, I do like that they, I think it's, it wasn't, I may have skipped over it, but they do at least acknowledge that when, here it goes, narratives from aviators in the operational community and analysis from the military NIC describe disparaging associations with observing UAP, reporting it, attempting to discuss it, whatever. So now, basically, this is saying, and I'm glad they've acknowledged this, there's still the stigma, even though it's smaller now, that if you talk about this, you're just going to be looked at funny. You won't go further in your career. You won't, you won't get that far. That stigma is ridiculous. That should be going away. If someone reports it, you find the explanation for it. And it's funny because a lot of people, when they're like, oh, I saw a UFO. UFO, the term is just unidentified flying objects. It's not like they said, I saw an alien. Now, if they're saying, I saw an alien, sure, that needs to be looked at in maybe a different light. Scrutinized a little bit just to make sure. But when people just say UFO, it's the pilot didn't know what the hell it was. They never said alien. They never said whatever. So how much has gone unreported is interesting, because I guarantee the amount of undocumented, unreported is way larger than what we have reported. It's only till recently that, like they said, it's lessening, and I think younger members of military and stuff like that are going to be the ones reporting it, and as they grow into, hopefully, the higher positions and ranks, we get some more transparency, we get bigger into this, and we see what happens. Again, I don't think we're talking foreign adversaries. Sure, we may have one or two, but we're not going to... I highly doubt we have Russia or China flying around in these little circular craft that can move without any sort of propulsion system. And if they did, I'm sure they'd be using it against us. So, guys, again, it's aliens, right? I mean, this is what we all believe. Again, it's absolutely asinine to just outright dismiss aliens. We're in a vast universe that we can't even see the edges, right? Unless you're a flat earther. But I'm glad the report came out. Enough of that. I'm glad the report came out. I'm interested because they only call it a preliminary assessment. and not like this is a final report or this is, X, Y, and Z. So the report, at least, they're acknowledging a lot. More money obviously would be needed to research these kind of things. Obviously, we probably won't see very much of it. I think actually I know we flipped over that. Oh no, I think here it is too. The case, we identified an object as a large deflating balloon. The others remain unexplained. I'm curious if this is them referencing that one balloon that we saw the picture of, where all of a sudden it came out that it was possibly the Batman balloon. But then people were like, no, that it wasn't the Batman balloon. Like, that's not it. This is something else. So I'm curious. I don't know if that's the one they're referencing. Again, we don't have any further than just this preliminary report. So I really hope we get a follow-up report. If we do, we'll definitely go over it. We'll see what happens. But guys, that's all I have. Basically, the rest of this report, it's not actually a report. You have this appendix that breaks down what different UAP things are, which we already know. UAP is an airborne object, not identifiable. There's events, the holistic description. The incident is the specific part of the event, and a report, it's just the documentation. So they do give this. Appendix B, this basically just breaks down what the report from the Senate had specifically requested and what they went over. Basically, they're saying, this is what we know. We can do these 5 categories. They kind of laid out what they want to do, better interagency communication, and then we're going to need more money for this. So, are the old heads in the Senate or whatever branch of Congress feels like dealing with this? Are they going to say, oh yeah, we're going to put more money to that, or are they going to be like, you guys are just stupid, silly, and just leave it be? But who knows? We'll see. Guys, as always, I appreciate you for tuning in. I hope to see you guys more. Probably not next week, but the following week I'll get you another regular episode. If anything else comes up, we'll go ahead and review it. Check out, I did do a video actually at the beginning of this week going over the Satori and Newkirk drama, unnecessary. But guys, hope you like this, and if you want me to do more deep dives and breakdowns like this, let me know in the comments below, or if you got something. As always, check out the social medias down here, and check me out at suburbanparanormal@gmail.com. That'll do it for me. I'll see you guys later.